year.
A little Mahomes,
Packers,
a little
Bears,
Brady,
man.
a little
Should be a great one.
Oh, Packers.
No, I'm kidding. No. You got it, John. You got it. Chiefs, Bucks. That's the game.
All right. Well, before we can get to that game, we got to get to this game. We start this morning in Dallas, where we thought we were going to see a motivated Cowboys team. We thought we would see Zeke feast. Remember, Wilds? That's what you wanted. We thought we'd see the Cowboys win. We did not. What we did see was Washington roll over the Cowboys 41-16. They now take sole control of the NFC East, and Dallas drops to a dismal 3-8. Brandon, let us kick off the conversation with you. Did Washington prove they're actually the most dangerous team in the NFC East?
Oh, they may have. 330 million Americans, almost 100 million avid football fans. Not everybody watch football, but there's a lot of football fans that really know what they're talking about and really knows what they're seeing. So if you were sitting around the television yesterday having Thanksgiving with your family and you turned this game on and you were watching it, you would have thought this was a really good game heading into the fourth quarter. You would have thought the Washington team was actually one of the premier teams in the NFL. So I think they look good, and I think that has a lot to do with Alex Smith. Sometimes when you insert a veteran quarterback, sometimes when you insert someone who has that leadership ability where they can lead without even talking, it changes dynamic in the entire organization. They just walk different. They talk different. You have young quarterbacks. They can play. It's one thing. But when you have a veteran quarterback like Alex Smith, he comes to work dressed differently. He comes to work, takes notes differently. The way he calls his plays and his control in the huddle is everything that gives everybody not in that huddle in the locker room a sense of poise and hope. So I think Alex Smith has a lot to do with how Washington played yesterday.
So I agree with that. Washington is the most dangerous team in the NFC East, and if they get the right matchup, they actually could be a dangerous team in the first round of the playoffs. Before we explain why, though, something about this show. We now officially all have defined roles. I was waiting for Wild's defined role to come into play, but it has. So let me explain. Brandon is the guy on the show you will go to if you want the next level football analysis. Here's what you saw, but here's what you really saw. I obviously am the person you go to for the gambling picks. Jenna is the person you go to for the, let's call them, eclectic 80s and early 90s references. Wilds has become your go-to fantasy football guy. Were you watching yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Wilds was like, hey, you know who's going to feast? Antonio Gibson. I'm like, Antonio Gibson, that's your pick, huh, buddy? I was like, did you think really? That's what you're going with. And look at this. Antonio Gibson, 3 touchdowns. So, listen, there's nothing Kevin Wilds will like more than if you at him on Twitter asking him who to start in your half-point PPR leagues. So please start that immediately. Remember, that's Wilds with an E at Kevin Wilds. Now, about the Washington football team. He called it. This was a culmination of the last 6 weeks. In the last 6 weeks, they're 3-3. That doesn't sound great, but one of those losses, 2-point conversion at the gun, they missed it against the Giants. Their other 2 losses, a 3-point loss to the Giants where Alex Smith, very early on and back in his tenure, threw 2 bad picks, and a 3-point loss to Detroit where Matt Prater hit a 60-yarder with zeros on the clock. Ooh. Their wins have been they crushed Dallas twice and they crushed Cincinnati. So this is a team that is, especially since the insertion of Alex Smith, playing better on the offensive side. And defensively, Wilds, they've got 4 first-round picks on that D-line. They've got stud after stud, plus Chase Young, who's really coming into his own the latter half of the season. So if I said it yesterday,
and a great
it was kind of a soft pedaling of the take. I'm ready to go even further with it. If they win the division, which I think they will, if Tampa ends up as the 5 seed, that's a tough matchup for the Bucs because of the pass rush. Now, Tampa, we don't know. They, in theory, could still win the division. And if they don't win the division, they could be the 5, 6, or 7 because the NFC is so compact. But if it's Washington, Tampa, that is not the matchup the Bucs want to see.
Buddy, we talked about this in the pregame show. I'm debuting a new thing. It's called Great Nick Predictions. It's this notebook. I'm going to upgrade the notebook. But saying Tampa Bay it's not the matchup they want, dude, that's not gonna move the meter for the show. That's not gonna go viral. I need something stronger out of you, bud. Give me something I can work with in the notebook of great predictions.
We've got 2 hours on the show. I was going to wait until 9:18 a.m. Eastern, but I will say what I truly believe. If it is Washington-Tampa in the first round of the playoffs, Washington will win that football game. If that is the matchup we get wild.
If Washington wins that game, there's no way Brady shakes Alex Smith's hand. I'm just going to say it. If Washington can pull away, he wins that game.
That's correct. That's correct.
Do you have a point, Wilds, before we move on? All right, let me move on to this real quick. I want to dive in a little deeper. With the Cowboys down 4 earlier in the fourth, right? They tried this disaster of a fake punt, 4th and 10 at their own 25. Washington scored on the next play. It put them up 11. But Mike McCarthy defended the move. Take a listen to this.
Well, you won't get anywhere if you're thinking about negatives all the time. Obviously it was a solid play call. It's a good play design. Their gunner made a good play, came off of it. He put us in a high-low read for Cedric. So it's a play that, if we hit it, obviously we're sitting here applauding. That's the nature of those plays. You can never convert them, obviously, if you don't call them and if you don't believe in them. So I clearly understood the situation when it was called.
So, Brandon, I understand what he's trying to say. I see his point. But did Mike McCarthy's play calling cost the Cowboys the game?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a part of it, right? Like, if it works, you're a genius and you're talked about. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to talk about you in a very bad way. But look, let me give you a little insight. Every team, and it's almost universal, starts their day around 8 a.m. 8 a.m. is special teams. Not everybody's in that meeting. Not all the coaches, not all the players. The superstar players may be in the hot tub. They may be in the athletic training room with Normatec boots on. 8:30, the team meeting starts. But in that 8 a.m. meeting, there's guys that's sitting there and the coaches are telling you, hey, here are the fakes of the week. Here are the ways we're going to attack them and punt. We're going to go block this kick, and this is how we're going to do it because of their tendencies. The fundamentals, Washington is giving you the tendencies. This is actually a great play call. They had what they wanted. He just didn't throw it. Cedric needs to throw the ball. Now, look, was it super aggressive? Yes. Did it cost their team? Yes. But look, your team isn't doing anything. We're in the fourth quarter. CeeDee Lamb already dropped the ball. Your young players aren't stepping up and giving you any type of momentum. So I do like that the call was strategic, but it definitely cost them the game, Nick.
And this is where you have to incorporate, I'll go back to the gambling side of me, the risk-reward factor. And in this specific play, it was way out of whack. You were down 4 points to a Washington team that had one extended touchdown drive the entire game. The other touchdown they scored happened on a drive where they got the ball inside the 20 because of a failed 4th down conversion and a penalty. So your defense had actually played pretty decent. You're in the game. And I understand Cowboys fans all in online saying 28's wide open. He is wide open. But the risk is that Cedric Wilson doesn't see him, doesn't hit him, does see him, does try to hit him, and throws it out of bounds. This is not and the risk you are running is you lose the game. They couldn't win the game right here, but they could lose it, and they did lose it. So even if it was drawn up exactly the way they wanted, because it can go Wilds, it can go exactly the way you coached it to go as far as what the other team's going to do. And it still can cost you the game. That's where the risk-reward, to me, was too skewed. If they were down 2 scores in this spot, it's different. They're down 4 points, and the defense had played pretty decent, Wilds.
So you know what the part about it I love, though? And Troy referenced it. He was trying to, salvage it. He was like, well, I guess if no one's expecting it, that's the time to run it. I was like, yeah, I'm buying that. And I know everyone's eviscerating poor Mike McCarthy, but not your old buddy Kevin Wilds, because you know why? I love trick plays unconditionally. I love trick plays like a mother's love. Doesn't matter if you're running them at the wrong times or you're not trying to get 1 yard, trying to get 10 yards. You come to your old buddy Kevin Wildes, and he will support you just like a way gone misbehaving son. I will still love you. And you say, Wildes, but it makes no sense you lose the game. Well, you know what else is a dumb play? Starting the second half of the Super Bowl off and kicking it to the Colts. But surprise, surprise, bounce off the guy's chest, and it's Saints balls, one of the greatest plays of all time. So for me, I have to be unconditional with it. Was that a bad play? Yes, but I still loved it. So now I'm going to love every trick play. I don't call it whenever you want. I will come and support you. So if a coach ever needs, a coach is ever looking for support, 7:30.